Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get into it with our guest today, well, first of all, everyone should recognize our guest. We have Lindsay back on the podcast again for, I think, her third time. I'm not exact. I have so many guests on for so many times. I mean, it's she's been on here more than once or twice, that's for sure. But she's on, just give her an update on what she's been up to, and yeah, we'll just have another chat like we always do. And most importantly, she's our current guest, Lindsay. Thank you so much for coming back on.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. Yeah, it's been about a year since we last spoke or last did one of these interviews on your awesome little podcast here. Congrats on all the guests that you've had. I see your post and it seems to be spreading as far as like attention and different competitors that are interested in coming on and giving their take on their experience in bodybuilding. And I love it. It as a competitor myself, the different perspectives are awesome to see. And everyone has a different experience. So, it's pretty neat to see things unfold as they have, especially through COVID.
Yeah. Well, I think once I had Andrea Shaw on, I think that's when the floodgates really opened when I had her on like last July, and then yeah, she's just been dominating ever since then. So I'm glad I had her on right before her first Olympia win. So I was like, okay, yeah. So now it looks like it's gonna be one of those things. Like I made a post about it where now it just looks like everyone's gonna be competing for second place really as long as she decides to keep competing.
I agree. Her physique is flawless. There's nothing that she can do I mean, how do you improve that? How do you?
Yeah, it is just absolutely insane. But enough about Andrea Shaw now on because I'll wait and give her all the compliments when she's on. But why don't you give us an update on what you've been up to since we last had you on about a year ago?
So last year, I continued to compete. I don't know why, but I continued to compete in figure a little bit. I think I just love the posing. I love the presentation, um, and the division itself. But really, my physique belongs in either bodybuilding or women's physique. So I competed successfully in bodybuilding. Not successfully enough to get my pro card, but enough to continue to be nationally qualified to compete again this year at nationals. And I actually decided to switch to women's physique. So, um, it just the style that I like to train. I like to train heavy. I like to train intensely, and my build is just a little bit denser, a little bit stockier than in my structure than the figure division standard. So competing in women's physique has been good so far. So my first show this year, I competed at the in Pittsburgh at the nationals there, the North Americans. It's a Gary Udit show, and it went well. I placed third, but that's not I was 4 points away from my pro card. It's like bittersweet. You're just like right on the edge. So, I will admit that I can do better in my condition. We could always improve conditioning wise. I think that's one area, no matter what your frame looks like, an athlete can always be more conditioned in any sport. You can always be more conditioned. So working on that and then also bringing up my legs, namely like hamstrings. Hamstrings and glutes for female competitors, it's so tough. Hormonally, that's where we store water and fat. So I've been working on that, and I'm going to close that gap, those 4 points, that 4 point difference.
Have you had to change up your training or anything at all like that, knowing that you're moving now to physique where I mean you can kind of focus on growing a little bit more than basically because I remember talking to you when you were in figure and you felt like you had to just sort of maintain at that point because you didn't want to get any bigger.
So that's an interesting question, and I was talking to a couple of coaches today. Actually, I held a posing seminar, first one at the gym that I opened, and which by the way, I opened a gym this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's been a really fun endeavor. Um, and we had our first posing seminar today. It went very well. A couple of classic physique competitors, men's physique, and then women's physique division, of course. And for training, discussing with the coaches, kind of like my training style. It's just whatever you feel where you feel that mind muscle connection, that's where you really need to train and focus. But there is a level where you don't necessarily need to progressively overload in a sense with adding more weight. You don't need to add additional strength. That's not what we're training for. We're not power lifters. If we trained like power lifters, a lot of us would have larger waistlines. The joint areas like the shoulders, the hips, those would also be a little bit stockier, thicker. And we're training for this is a physique competition. So to have the best physique, you do in a sense have to focus on what movements are going to give you those cuts, what movements are going to give you those lines, not necessarily getting stronger or lifting more, but just improving your training overall, to have that, like, just a better connection with the muscles that you're training.
Yeah, I mean, I just had Corey Butler on, who's a strong woman who competed in Dubai like a couple weeks ago. And first of all, she had the biggest forearms I've ever seen out of any guest that I've had on the podcast. They just train things. Her forearms were like as big as her arms too. Like she put her arms up like this at one point. Like when we were done talking, I even commented, I was like, because being a baseball pitcher, I mean, forearms are the ultimate thing. It helps you with your curveball. It helps you with with the
Okay.
release. I was just like, how the hell did you get? So yeah, it is a whole different body type too. And she's got that more fuller look, and it's sort of it's a lot more size and stuff. So yeah, it's I don't know how many times I have to preach that on this podcast, but it's like, yeah, it's a completely different body type that you're looking for. These bodybuilders aren't going for like personal bests all the time. They're just going for the look. So
Oh, I know, and it's almost laughable when someone asks me, "Oh, what's your PR for this?" or "What's your PR for that?" Dude, sometimes I don't even know. And sometimes I'll go and I'll train legs and I'll PR on a deadlift. I'm not even trying to that day. I just feel good. That's just in my programming, and I just hit it and decide, like, okay, like, that's the weight we're gonna hit today. So, going back to training style, I do have to refrain from training super heavy with my upper body, just because it just comes in like so well, and genetically, I just have a strong upper body. I have a very strong back. Um, I was joking from North Americans. I was like, that was the best back. That was the best back, hands down. Kind of joking, but kind of serious. It's just like, okay, if shows are one for the back, come on, give me some credit. Come on. But no, it's interesting. Some other competitors' protocols for training. Um, let's say, like, I think I've heard Michaela Icock. I don't know if I'm saying her last name right. A women's bodybuilding competitor
first
who's
of all,
doing.
she's like 24, everyone, or she's like 23. She's like really young too. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. Oh my god. Yeah, amazing competitor. Her conditioning, hands down, is just insane. I'd love to know what she's eating and how much cardio she does, because she just is insane for a female. But from what I understand, she stopped training upper body and she just trained legs for like a year. Maybe I'm exaggerating as far as like stop. Maybe she doesn't completely not train upper body, but you know what I mean. It's definitely not the same upper lower body training. You just have to differentiate the two, and if you have some muscle groups that are just genetically stronger than others, then you have to just be careful on how you can't train them the same as other lagging parts for sure.
Which me being a guy, that sounds blasphemous. Where I was like, don't train upper body for a year. That just sounds insane. But hey, it's a whole different lifestyle. But so you open up your gym. What was that? What was that process like? And where's it at if anyone wants to is in the area?
So it is in Santa Maria, California, right next to the Santa Maria airport. And we're located in Santa Barbara County, so Central Coast. We're 2,500 square foot. So on the smaller side, boutique side, it's a full gym. We've got a beautiful roll up so you don't have to train with your mask on, which is amazing. You could take some equipment outside, get some fresh air while you train. I definitely pick up some plates. I do farmers carries outside out to the parking lot and back. Um, it's wonderful. It's been amazing being able to design something, that's mine, that I can take ownership of from start to finish. The design of the business, the structure of it. I extended my brand Oak and Iron, so that's the name of the training facility. It's Oak and Iron. And now we've got bodybuilding classes and competitors coming to the gym to train. I love it. And then our community involvement has been really important to me. My partner has a nonprofit in youth sports, and we have softball players, soccer players, football players that are ages, I want to say 10 to 18, and then some in their early 20s that have off seasons when they're home from the school that they play at, and training there like athletes should be. And so that's awesome to support too, to give them that positive feedback, to show them some things where they can improve, and to stoke that fire. Sports teach us a lot in life, and so any way that we can support and encourage that, I just, I my passion is there. So it's awesome.
Well, my little brother is moving to San Diego in January. He got a job out there, so he's moving to California. And we just told him, good. My older brother tried to move there. He lived there for about 2 years, then he moved back just because it was too expensive for him. He just said, yeah, I gotta save some money now. But yeah, so my little brother's gonna be down and around there. So who knows if he ever's in the Santa Barbara area? I'll tell him. And he works out a lot too, so I'll tell him, oh yeah, go check that place out then, and tell me how it is. But yeah, and one thing that was I want to talk to you about, because I saw in a post, like, you do some posing sessions too with people where you help them out, and there was one where you were helping out a guy pose. Is there any pose from the male division that's like the physique kind of equivalent that you would wish that female posing would sort of take into it, or do you like specifically just the female physique posing?
Ooh, that's a really good question. You know what? I think the men's classic physique poses I kind of fun the way that they transition, and the way that the side, um, it kind of looks their transitions almost like kind of like bikini, how they kind of throw their arms out there. How bikini competitors will do like that little, hand movement. That's kind of fun. I enjoy that. But for I can't say that there's like one pose from a men's division that I wish was in a women's division. I do like the fact that they could pose with a closed fist. In women's physique, we have to have like our hands open and fingers out. And to me, it's just like, ah,
I never
well,
quite got that, because it's like, yeah, because it's like, first of all, you don't get as much of a pump, yeah, if you have your fingers really, yeah.
right. So you kind of have to learn how to do that
Here,
and
let's
how
see
to
those guns. Look at those guns, everyone. Good God.
yeah.
Jeez.
Um, but then you have to open up like that, and so that I mean, you really have to make that connection and feel, okay, where should I be as far as, where it's easier, I feel like right here to have that bicep peak that we all want.
Yeah. Well, holy lats though too. You've really been working lats then too. Good God, that is ridiculous.
That's one area I know I can't help, but I know these lads just they want to be there, they want to grow, they want to just like hang out here. So I have to kind of refrain from doing too much.
Yeah, you know. Hey, the body wants what the body wants, I guess, with at least genetic wise, but yeah, and that whole posing thing, yeah, I do wish they would change. But did you change up, so what was that like going from, the figure posing to the physique posing, because like you said that they're different, but was it an easy transition because you would, let's be honest, like every bodybuilder, even if you're a bikini competitor, you've done probably some physique poses just because they're fun to do, but was it a hard transition at all for you?
For the routine, it was for the individual routine, and to do a choreographed routine showing all the poses and then kind of putting like your own mix. You really have to connect with the body a little bit more. And I like structure. I don't necessarily like improv. So when I have to improvise, it's outside of my comfort zone, which is okay. That's how you get better. You step outside your comfort zone and you try different things and you figure out what works for you. So it works really well for dancers. I'm not a dancer. So I've just had to improvise and find my flow and make it work for me.
And when it comes to the nutrition aspect too, now that you've gone into physique, has your nutrition been changed at all? Are you eating more, or is it still the same?
No, it's basically the same. I did increase my protein intake. So now I'm eating 45 grams of protein per meal, which I mean, it's just standard. I mean, everyone is eating around like 30 to 45 to, I think men probably do like 50 grams of protein. And yeah, the basics we have. Actually, you know what? No, I did start incorporating cream of wheat. I didn't go there last prep or the prep before, but I did now. Just dropping out any extra fats and then finding stuff that's easier for my digestive system to handle. While you prep and being on a diet that's lacking the micronutrients that kind of like feed your healthy gut bacteria, sometimes your digestive system goes a little wacky, especially if you're just on protein, protein all the time. So yeah, I've had to make things a little bit easier for my body to handle.
Yeah, you definitely need to mix things up. And I mean, opening your business too during, the pandemic was still going on. And it still is at a little point. And I mean, California's been one of the more restrictive places. Was that a struggle at all for you?
That's a great question. We opened up June 1st, right when the mask ordinance was lifted, and it seemed to be just fantastic timing, thank goodness. The community has been really receptive and supportive to our new business. I have to give a shout out to our local Chamber of Commerce. They've been fantastic in helping us, increase our viewers, increase our marketing and promotions. And we've been open to giving back too. Whatever we can do to host competitors or athletes, if we're able to offer some type of sponsorship. I just had a classic physique competitor that's based out of a local Air Force base, and he trained at the gym. It's just not all the time during his prep, but certain days of the week. And so I got to know him, and so we sponsored him for his first show. He did really well, and his name's Dante Collins, and I'm sure you'll see more of him because he's about to compete here again in November. I think he's doing the Iron Games. So yeah.
That's awesome. And plus, I mean, for me too personally, I mean, if I did this for money, I mean, I would probably be living on the street right now. So yeah, it's all about giving back and just yeah, just appreciating the little things. And that's so great. And I really am glad that you do that. And I mean, when it comes to preps, did you prep differently at all this year than you have I mean, other than, adding cream of wheat and stuff, was there anything else that was different about your prep this last year than it was in years prior?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's you know competitors are used to, you wake up, you do your fasted cardio, you have your protein and carb, then you have your meals, scheduled, and you go through your day very regimented. Well, my days haven't been able to be very regimented because I have meetings, and I have school drop off and pick up, and then I have clients to train, and then I have different check-ins. So and vendors coming and calling me and stopping and deliveries and stuff for the business. So it's my schedule being so all over the place. That has been the hardest for me. It has been consistency. So I do have all of my ducks in a row as far as like my meals and my training split. However, like sometimes I've had to get my cardio in at 4 a.m. or 5:45, or whenever I can. Sometimes it's in the evening. I finish my day, I come home, make dinner, get my kids settled, and then go back and do my cardio in the evening, and wherever, and then sometimes for my training, I have to figure out what clients, are able to train with me, and that's what we do. We get in a back day or a leg day together, and somehow it all works.
That sounds very stressful, and I'm glad that I'm not you then for this that at least prep there. But yeah, and I mean, how have your client is how do you think your clients have been reacting with you like actually training with them? Because it's a little bit different when you're having, the person that's training you is actually like training along with you.
They love the intensity. They love the push. They love the intensity. With personal training, it's not uncommon for trainers to train with certain clients if a client really likes that. I'm not seeing every session, but every once in a while. And also, it's a different side that they get to see too. Training in a bodybuilding split versus training. Most of my clients train in a functional training style, which is it's kind of a mix of all modalities, honestly, functional training. So it's a heavier, grindy, nasty training session, but they love it, and so it's fun to share.
And you mentioned before we started recording that you're getting ready for a show right now in a couple of weeks. Where's that show at? And where how many weeks out are you now?
So I believe I want to say I'm like 6 weeks out, 5 weeks out. Let's see. So
Please don't tell
one,
me it's the week of Thanksgiving.
four. I'm 5 weeks out. No, it's the week before
Okay,
Thanksgiving.
good.
My birthday's November 19th, and then the 20th is the show. So I'm doing the Sean Ray Classic in Hawaii, and I know. Yes, I'm gonna be in Hawaii. Um, and the reason that I picked this show out is I had planned already to be in Hawaii for Thanksgiving with my girls. And after not receiving my pro card in Pittsburgh, I decided to continue competing. And, it turns out that this is an hour away from where we're staying in Oahu. So I just thought, you know what? When am I ever going to have the opportunity to compete at the Sean Ray Classic? I'm already, into a prep. Let's just keep going. And then I'll roll right into nationals in Orlando right after. So.
Do you think Halloween's going to be a struggle for you at all since it's coming up in about 2 weeks?
No, you know what? Halloween isn't going to be bad. I'm actually going to be back east. I'm going to work with Kenny Wallach for some posing. So I'm looking forward to that. That's actually on Halloween, I believe, that Sunday. Yeah,
Oh wow, that should be.
I know.
Hey,
Yeah, it's been fun. I've been all over the place working with coaches in Florida, Texas. Kenny's in, I believe he's based out of Connecticut, but we're meeting in Jersey at a gym out there. But yeah, just continuing to grow in the industry and to get just deeper and deeper into my sport. I love it.
yeah, absolutely. One thing that I've been asking most of the bodybuilders I've had on is that obviously this has been a somewhat different year than usual with all the stuff that's been going on in the sport with like the deaths and a lot of people that have been exposing the diuretics and stuff that get used in the sport. And what has your reaction been like to all that? Because everyone, like, even I knew that like all that stuff was around the whole sport, but like people just didn't understand like how prevalent it was and how much damage can be done to someone, especially when you're already that lean down taking some diuretics or something. So what was your reaction like when you heard all that news? Because I mean, there was a whole time when everyone was just sort of in a frenzy for a couple of weeks.
If you have been competing in this sport, especially at the national or pro level, then you already know what to expect. You already know how dangerous it is. You've probably already seen competitors cramp up and have to leave the stage, or maybe even faint, maybe even pass out. You've probably already witnessed that, and so you understand the reality is that you're taking something healthy and you're making it unhealthy because you're taking it to such an extreme level. So you just have to do what's right for you and your body. Everyone's different. The same 165-pound individual in women's physique, it doesn't matter, if she's the same height, age, weight. We're doing the same training split. Her body chemically and hormonally is going to react differently than my body. It's just genetics. So you can't even, you can guess how things and estimate how things are going to affect you, but you really can't know for sure until you actually put your body to that test. And so, my take is that when you push and push and push, at one point, and you never know where that's going to be, your body's going to push back. And so, why if this is just a sport and a hobby and there's bigger things in the world, as much as I love this, if it put my health at risk, my life at risk, I'd have to step away, no doubt. But I don't, it's tragic when lives are lost. It's sad. I don't know if it's why, like why. Is it recklessness on the individual? Is it recklessness on the support system? Who's making a judgment call that could potentially cause someone to die? I don't know.
I tell people just do your research. That's the most important thing that you can do. Because some people that don't do the research, I was like, come on, it's like you could if you would have just done your research, things would have ended differently. So that's the one thing that I could really take out of this whole thing is that people, yeah, just do your research and know what stuff could happen and what all that. But yeah, it's again, it's just some people do are willing to do whatever it takes to really win, and that's yeah.
The risk reward, you got to evaluate to yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. And just remember, yeah, at the end of the day, it should be what's healthiest for you. And obviously it's not going to be healthy, just dieting down in the first place that much, but I mean, there's a difference between, deadly and then there's a difference between something where it's like, oh, it's just a little unhealthy. I mean, yeah, it's just a completely different scale on that. But when it comes to just, this journey that you've been on, since I first had you on to, I mean, where you're at now, would there be anything in your journey that you'd like to see changed, or are you at the mindset where it's like everything that happened to me happened for a reason, and I'm glad that it's led to where I'm at right now?
Yeah, I don't have any regrets. I've enjoyed doing the different divisions. I've enjoyed my adventure in figure and women's bodybuilding and now physique. I love it. I love this sport. I love the experience, and everyone that I've met so far has been amazing. And no, I wouldn't change a thing. Yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, I asked that to a couple of people, and only a few people said that they changed something, and most of them said they just wish they would have gotten into the sport sooner than they did. That's the
Oh
one
wow.
thing that they, yeah. So I was like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good answer to that. Then I guess. But when it comes to what, how do you balance? I mean, because you mentioned it before, but I mean, like, yeah, you have such a busy schedule. How do you find that time management? Because I mean, just being a normal mom. I mean, I people that are probably listening to this, the moms, they're like, how the hell does this woman do this? Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I just move through life with a lot of intensity and drive. And I'm single, so that helps too. So I can be a little selfish. I don't where a mom that's married, like you have another person to consider their input, and that uh I don't yeah. It's tough. It's tough, but it's doable. You just have to put your head down and focus, and self-discipline goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm single as one. I see some of my photos of some of my guy friends, going to apple orchards with their girlfriends. And I was like, oh, you poor thing. Jeez, you could have just been staying home watching football on Sundays, and it's like, come on, that's torture right there. First of all, you got to even if you're in a relationship, you got to be like, okay, just give me Sundays at least. We can do anything Saturday. Just give me, but hey, that's a whole different story. But yeah, it is just that time commitment. That's the hardest thing for a lot of people. And what has your sleep been like, especially with all this time commitment and with all this stress of business and competing? Has your sleep been affected at all?
You know what? It has, but I try to balance that as well. I try my damnedest to get 6 or more hours a night because I don't function well on just 4 hours. I can't do that. I can't drink enough caffeine to keep me, going the next day. But it's interesting, Ryan, because actually about this time, about 5 weeks or 4 weeks out, as you get closer to competition, it's actually harder to
Yep.
sleep. Your body wants to stay super warm, your metabolism is revving, and you're just in this go, go, go mode all the time. So, you have to temper that, and you have to figure out, okay, do I need to take naps? What do I need? How do I balance that? Because you still, as you know, you're not your best. You don't perform your best if you're lacking in sleep and you're tired or your body's tired. So
A lot of people don't understand that there's a certain point where you can reach where you're so tired that you can't sleep. And I know that sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but it's true.
I've
We're
been
like,
there.
yeah. Yeah, it's a weird thing to explain to people where it's like, I'm so tired, but I can't fall asleep. And everyone's like, well, why not? And you said you're really tired. And I was like, yeah, I know. But there's a certain point when you get like so tired that literally I can't explain it. But it's a weird conundrum. And I hate it's happened to me only a handful of times in life. And yeah, it's a hard thing to explain to people, I think, at least.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I can relate. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it normally just happens if I'd work like a 16-hour shift or something like that, and then I'm just like, okay, yeah, I just need to get home and rest, and then next thing you know, you're laying in bed for a couple hours, and you're just like, God, this is just awful. But I mean, other than like the placing that how you were so close to getting your pro card in physique, what was your overall experience like competing in those other divisions? Because I know, didn't you tell me, I think last time, that you'd already competed in at least physique before once, but you
I
hadn't
have.
really been trying that? But what was that change like when you just went from like, okay, I'm not doing figure anymore, I'm just focusing on that?
Um, I mean, I miss figure because I love the heels. I love the
Wait, so you're like the one person I've had that actually loves the heels then? Because everyone says that's the one thing that they wish they could go without.
I know, I actually really love it. I think it's, it adds that feminine touch to a muscle contest, for a female division. And, I just don't fit into that division anymore. I am just past that point. My muscle maturity and density just, and that's okay.
Who knows? Maybe you'll get to a point where you'll be considered small for figure. Who knows? Maybe in like 10 years that might actually be a thing where they're just like, oh yeah, you're too small.
Oh
Yeah.
my, can you imagine?
Who
Oh
knows?
my, it's already changed so much. And
I want to see the bikini competitors have to look like the physique competitors now. That would be something to see.
you know what? I think the NPC and IFBB are actually taking a step in the opposite direction, and they're, trying to reward the competitors that have that softer, less striated, maybe not less striated, but less hard, I should say, less hard and vascular, and more well defined but round and full muscle bellies. So I like that because that's what it is. It's a muscle contest, guys. You know.
Do you still incorporate? Because last time we talked about time retention, do you still incorporate that in a lot of your workouts?
Absolutely, yes. Time under tension for sure. At each and every time I train.
Even when you're doing lower body, because I've tried time under tension for lower body and I couldn't even walk the next day.
Yeah, maybe not all of my leg days during a week, but definitely some of my leg days. And actually more on my glute and hamstring days because my hamstrings, my muscle connection isn't as strong as my quads. And at time under tension, I think it helps with your muscle fiber activation. And just you activate more muscle fibers during your workout and therefore have better results.
Because physique sometimes, or it does require a little bit more of a striated look and a little bit more, uh, you got to be a little bit more leaner. Have you had to do more cardio than you have in other preps?
Yeah, yeah, I know. And it's just like it gets to the point where it's like, okay, is 45 minutes of fasted cardio and then 45 minutes, an hour and a half of cardio plus what you're doing during your workout. Is that enough? Is that enough every day?
I'd hope so. If it isn't, you got to do something else. Then I guess.
Then
But
you
yeah,
got to change it up. Yeah. I'm not quite there right now, but
you
I've
got to
been
like
there.
sell your car then and just start walking everywhere. Then basically.
Yeah, to get those steps in,
Yeah.
might as well.
Yep, that's why I wish, yeah, I wish sometimes when I was like, God, if only I could just like bike everywhere and just at least do a little bit of that cardio was. But yeah, that cardio that they have, and that's another myth that I don't think people understand is that like the higher you get in the sport, the more cardio you have to. Most people would probably think less when they're like, oh, those bodybuilders, they probably don't do as much cardio as like the bikini girls. But it's like, no, they probably do more. Let's be honest. And another thing that I did want to ask you though too is that I don't think I asked you this last time, but what advice would you give for someone just getting started in this industry?
In the sport of
Bodybuilding.
body
Yeah, yeah. Or we could just do health and fitness in general. Like you're either one. If you want to do both or just whatever, yeah.
education, educate yourself, do your research, practice, find the coaches that you admire and look up to, and go to them and go and train with them and see what they're doing and see what's working or not working, or just gain I go and I train with different trainers all the time. I go and seek them out. I make appointments with them and I go, okay, I want to do a leg day with you. I want to see what you're doing differently and how I can change my style and learn, not just for myself, but also for my clients, for my athletes, and just to progress. You might think you know everything about something, but you really don't. The deeper you go, the deeper you realize that you don't know very much at all, that you're just scratching the surface.
Yeah. And that's that. Yeah. Again, I mean, everyone has their own little niche of knowledge that I think everyone could benefit from. That I mean, it's all just about finding that too. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. For every good trainer, there's probably about two or three bad ones, just because there's so many in the marketplace. So it's hard to find them. And yeah, just get a reputable source, do your research. Don't just go to some random gym and just the first person that you see, just be like, oh, hey, you want to be my trainer now? And just, yeah, make sure that you have questions ready and ask and stuff like that. Make sure that yeah, it's just like basically have a job interview for them. Not like that, but you know what I mean, where it's like, make sure to just be able to ask them questions and just, pick their brain on some things and make sure that they're a good fit for you because, some even if the best coach on the planet for some people might not be a good fit just because they just go with the training style. They just might not, and it's just, yeah, just like genetics, it's all different for every person. People just got to understand that. That's the one thing that I, really need to preach as well. But yeah. And then I ask this to you every single time, but it's just such a good one. Is if you could change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
I wish there were two different scorecards. I wish there was one scorecard based on your physique and muscularity, and then another scorecard based on your presentation. And it would be really cool to see you know, the separation of the two. I mean, to in all fairness, you have to have the whole package, of course, to be a professional in your sport. But I think there are some really underrated physiques, and they're just not shown very well on stage. They just don't come across as well, maybe as other competitors can show in their posing, so they don't place as high. But that would be really cool to see two different scorecards.
I'm not gonna lie, in probably like 3/5 of the competitions that I've ever saw, the person who literally was the most muscular, they didn't win, and it's it's down to that. So it's yeah, when people don't, that's just what they don't understand about. It's all about the presentation too. I mean, you can be the most jacked person on the planet, and if you don't know how to present it, I mean that you're not gonna win ever.
Right? Yeah, very true.
And I mean, absolutely. And what are some goals that you'd like to have? I mean, when we have you on a year from now again, where would you like to be at just in your journey? What are some goals that you'd like to have with your gym? Where would you like to be at?
Ooh. Um, a year from now, I would love to have this gym self-functioning so that if I want to, I can step away. I'd love to be working on location number two a year from now. If not already have that up and running as well. And hopefully you talk to me as a pro. Hopefully I'm competing at the pro level.
I think you'll get in there. What's one body part that you think you want to improve on the most over the next year?
Oh, my lower lats.
Really, you just show us your lats, and you're telling us that you want to improve on them.
No, my
There's more.
lower
Oh,
lat.
your lower lats. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say for one second, I was like, is she crazy or something like that? Like, does she not have a mirror?
No. I definitely have lats, but like your lower lats where they connect in your back to your erector spinae. And I think that's part of that's genetic too, how long your lat extends down your back. But yeah, I mean, we all have like these little things that we want to
when
work
it's
on
when
as
it's such a
bodybuilders.
specific area like that, like how would you work on a lower lat? Like what exercise? I mean, I know there's the one where you're kind of like sitting down and then you sort of like go back up and stuff like that. But is there anything else?
Yeah, you can do rows, and your row angle just has to change. Your row angle and where the force is contracted in your back, it just has to change. Your handle also dictates a lot on what part of your back is changed, is worked, excuse me. So, the wider grip, you're working your lats more, that narrow grip, you're working more of your rhomboids. But you can still work different areas, it just depends, on that grip.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and that's great advice. And one last thing I'd ask you is that like your chest the entire time we've been talking has been like absolutely like popping and stuff like that. So what do you even do for chest? Because as a guy, I'm like, okay, she's got a better chest than me, and that's ridiculous. First of all, so what do you even do for chest?
I think it's because I've been training my men's physique client and doing my chest day with him, and which I probably need to back off on that too. But a narrow grip bench press, close grip bench press. So it works chest and tries. I love that. Um, Floor presses are great because they allow you to overload in a safe way so that your shoulder isn't compromised. And dumbbell flies, Smith machine. I love the Smith machine for chest. And that also allows you to add a little bit more weight because of the track in the Smith machine than maybe you would with a barbell. That's just a little safer. And another favorite chest exercise of mine is a champagne press. So I love taking those hexagonal weights, those dumbbells, pressing them together, and just getting that great contraction down the center of your chest. And that's what causes that, like that.
That spread kind of.
Yeah, it looks so. I love the way it looks. So it's my favorite.
Absolutely. Well, and lastly, I mean, I asked you about this last time, but it's gotten even better for arms. What are you even doing for that? Because we saw last time, and it's like they've gotten even bigger than the last time we had you on.
Oh my God, no. So, I do a lot of the same movements. I love, there's a triple set that I love to do with an easy bar. It's a curl, then you go into a skull crusher and a close grip bench press. So that's a really fun one. Using more cables. So I'm trying not necessarily to get them bigger, but just shapelier. So more of that cut down my bicep. And that too, you kind of have to change the way that you're holding the weights, change your handle, and do stuff maybe more outside of the body versus, in. the a standard bicep curl or hammer curl. Maybe your angle is more up to the forehead, elbows a little bit higher. Just changing sort of that place, that area where the tension is being stored while you're exercising. I mean, I don't know, I think when you train so much, you just try to get creative too. And you go, okay, what is like the best way that I could just completely destroy this muscle group today? How can I just destroy my body? And then you just go in and get that workout done. And, just talking about it right now, I'm ready to go back to the gym.
Oh yeah, it's like and people first of all, like I said this before, don't ever forget your triceps too. That's another thing that people forget all the time when it comes to arms, and that is, the vast results that you're going to see. So if you have really nice triceps, you can kind of slack a little on the biceps and they still look pretty good. So don't forget those, everyone. That's
Yeah,
going to be my one piece of
don't forget those
advice.
prides. You
Yeah.
got to hit those triceps up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, yeah, it makes up like 75% of the arm. So absolutely. And again, I mean, Lindsay, I cannot thank you enough for coming back on and, chatting with us again. And is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
I just want to say congratulations to Rob Fiskus for competing in his first men's classic physique competition. He did so well during his prep and followed everything to a T that I programmed for him. So, I definitely see him progressing through and competing more in the future. I want to give a shout out to Summer Tranquil. She's a bikini competitor out of Florida with Elevate. That's her company that she's founded out there. And she's getting ready to do she's doing a show in Texas at the end of October. And I think it's a Fit Body Fusion show. Um, and then she's going to do Atlantic Coast, I think it's called, in Florida here in November, and then get qualified for nationals. And so I'll see her in Orlando in December. But yeah, she just grinds like no other. So consistent down to measuring your sodium every day. Just I love it. That's the self discipline that it takes, though, if you want to have a successful prep.
Yep. No, it really just comes down, yeah, to that self-discipline. I mean, you'll never catch me measuring my sodium and doing any of that stuff, but hey, that's the difference between me and a bodybuilder, really, basically. That's
Yeah, yeah, right.
that's what comes down to it. But again, yeah, Lindsay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. And I hope you've enjoyed your summer. Now, is it fall?
Oh my god. Yeah. Well, in Minnesota, yeah. So it was like 45 degrees last night, and then well, again, at this point last year we had like 6 inches of snow on the ground, but then it melted. So I'm glad that hasn't happened. But yeah, we're about a month away from getting into like snow weather basically. So I'm just enjoying it while it lasts. This is the perfect time of the year here, but yeah, it's been an interesting summer. I'll talk to you a little bit about it after the podcast because I'm saving my summer journey for a different podcast. But yeah, it's been something. But again, you guys, everyone go and give Lindsay a follow. I'll leave a link to her Instagram page, and if you're in the area, go check out her gym and let me know how that goes. And again, you guys, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.